What the Tech, one of my favorite segments here, where we get to the stories behind the stories that you will be hearing a lot more about in the future. With me now is the guy who runs IMAX, the CEO, Rich Gelfond. And Rich, we were talking about this. I was seeing IMAX promoting, virtual reality, and all these people wearing headsets in your gorgeous theaters, where I would think they would only get in the way. Your theaters are, the draw themselves. Who needs these stupid headsets then?
So, Neil, they won't be used in our theaters. The theaters as they exist today are sort of the closest thing to virtual reality because you're kind of inside the action. But the next generation of virtual reality will be different. It'll be more interactive. So you can create your own experience. So what we're talking about...
these people that you see filmed or taped using these headsets in a theater environment, those aren't your theaters?
No. In our theaters, they'll wear 3D glasses today.
Right.
But so what we're talking about is you see Star Wars in IMAX, for example, and then after you see it, you want to fly the Millennium Falcon yourself. So the VR...
A million years. I hated that whole series.
Okay, well, which series do you like? Maybe the Enterprise you want to fly, or something else.
But the draw there is that with IMAX, the differentiator would be what?
The differentiator would be how real the virtual reality experience is, and it would also be out of home. So people like Facebook with Oculus Rift and Sony, they're going into the home. So their idea with virtual reality is you put on glasses in your living room and you go on and you watch a movie or you go on an experience. We're talking about location-based. So when you're at an arcade or when you're at a theater, you can and it's only probably 10 minutes long instead of 2 hours long, that you could experience this alternative reality. It's almost like being in a dream and feeling it's so real. And the technology is just being developed now to create it. It doesn't exist. But just like we're the high-end operator in the cinema space, we would be really the high-end operator in the virtual reality space. And that's why we partnered with Google to try and make this camera. And we partnered with Starbreeze, which is the high-end creator of kind of the face gear that you use. So our intention will be to take people to a new dimension.
But you're branching out, by definition, from just the big theater complex with the big screen. That's safe to say, right?
Yes, that's
You and I were talking to the back, maybe butchered or got the name wrong, of customers who are seeking out an IMAX home movie setup experience, right? All of this at a time when Steven Spielberg and others are underwriting an effort to get first-run movies into people's homes right away. How do you feel about that? How would that affect you?
I don't think it would affect us much one way or the other, because I think in a way the better home experience helps IMAX, because I think people already have these great screens and these great experiences, but they're social animals. They want to go out. They want to do something with their kids and their friends.
Who have the elaborate IMAX setup, do they get first-run movies, or is that something that you don't do? Did you just give them the elaborate setup?
In the United States, we don't do first-run movies with IMAX because we protect the theatrical window and we protect the IMAX experience. So we really want them to go to the theater. So that's kind of limited
right now for price to the Primus cinemas and all. But if this Spielberg effort, and there are many others who are leading, that would change everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, Steven's not really leading it, Neil. I think he has an investment in it. I think he's a little bit conflicted about it. But I think eventually some of the distribution will take place into the home. But I don't think the kind of blockbuster movies that IMAX does, like Captain America, which is out now, or Star Wars, which you don't like very much, or Suicide Squad, I don't think people are really going to want to watch those movies at home. I think they're going to want to see them in an immersive way in the IMAX kind of a feeling.
Well, people do seek out, for big event films, they go to IMAX. I go to IMAX. And one of the things I noticed is that I don't mind 3D at one of your theaters. It's an event, you put on the glasses. But in smaller venues, it doesn't seem to have the appeal. What do you make of that and the future of 3D? Because a lot of people in the movie studios are betting on it. They have a 3D version of Captain America. They have a regular version,
Well, 3D actually went through a phase where it went up, and then it declined, and it's kind of found its level. So I think a lot of people agree with you about that. In IMAX, though, because the field of vision is so broad. It provides, sometimes in a regular theater it can be a little bit claustrophobic.
Right.
It feels, in IMAX it still feels very expansive and the colors are very bright and it's kind of a broad experience. I think a lot of people feel the way you do about it, where in IMAX it feels really cool, but in a smaller scope it's a little bit confining.
Do you get a sense, though, that, you know, people are looking at how much Americans are spending going out, and they found that on discretionary things like going to the theater, going out to restaurants, they're still spending pretty robustly and happy to pay a premium, to your point, to go to an IMAX theater. But everyone's talking about a slowdown coming, and then that would be the first thing cut, including family outings to IMAX.
We haven't seen that at all. As a matter of fact, our domestic box office was up over 30% in 15 over 14,
right?
and the first quarter was up over 50% versus the similar quarter. So we haven't seen any of that, although I will tell you the movie business, people, even in recessions, that's one thing people usually pay for because
Right.
it's a, you know, it's an inexpensive kind of indulgence, right? You might not go on a trip, you might not go to a fancy restaurant,
You're right about that.
but a movie, a couple extra
During
bucks,
the
it doesn't mean
Depression,
much.
Hollywood did fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Rich, very good seeing you. Thank you again.
Nice to see you, Neil.
You like Star Wars.
I like it, I do.
Okay, whatever. All right, whatever. Anyway, good sport. By the way,